Hello, 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 everyone. How are you out there? Hope everyone is doing fine. Hope everyone is doing awesome, having a great day. Like to say good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you are in the world and where you are listening to this and when you listen to this. If you're not with us live, I certainly appreciate all of you for being here and continue to be a part of this podcast. I get so much enjoyment out of it, and I again like to thank all of you for being a part of this. If you would, if you're out there, please send us a note, a message in the chat. Let us know that you're out there and that you can hear me. Again, I hope everyone is doing well. Let me begin, as I always do, with a special thank you and shout out to a couple of people. First, Taisha Essick. Hope that you are out there listening. I know I'm always getting you on social media, and so I know you're out there somewhere making some people mad. I think I just saw a post by you about an hour ago. It was really funny, but it was on point. So yeah, so Taisha Essick, a great friend. She's done a lot for me with this program, and I certainly appreciate her. Those of you who know her, please support her and her channels and everything that she's doing. So Taisha, hope you and the hubby and the new baby are doing well. Um, if you're here, if you come on, we certainly appreciate you saying hi and saying something. You're always welcome to come on the show live at any point at any time. So certainly, what's going on, Till X? Appreciate you being there. Secondly, I'd like to say thank you to my wonderful, wonderful wife and support system. We have so much stuff going on right now, and I get into it in just a second. But my wife has been extremely supportive, 100% supportive. She calls herself my number one fan, and she certainly is. So certainly, I wouldn't be where I am and doing what I'm doing without her. The support of her for the last how long we've been married? 18 years together, 19 years. So shout out to my wonderful wife, Salima, out there. So thank you. So yeah, as I mentioned before we get into today's topic, a couple of things, sort of, I guess, housekeeping things was sort of what's going on. So those of you, many of you know, have been following me for the last couple of years. I have been working on a master's degree in religious studies. And I had intentions on, or at least at one time, one point, had intentions on pursuing a PhD. That did not come to fruition. But I will be graduating in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday, I think. So the semester is over next week, and I will be graduating with an MA in religious studies. So as I said before, this is just not something that I came up with. So this is something that I'm invested in, something that I will continue to do and talk about as long as I can. There will be other avenues along with the podcast. I will write another book. But then I'll certainly, one of the things that I have been dabbling in for the last few years, even with other topics, is being on the speaker circuit. And so I will certainly now do that, pursue that as a full time thing. So those of you out there who know of some organizations or groups or situations that are looking for paid, PAID, paid speaker on this topic, please consider me. I certainly appreciate it. I do have a website that talks about my speaking business. I think you can find it under Willie Cartwright Speaks. Talks about that. So yeah, so that'll be one of the things that we will be doing, pursuing, along with a couple of other things. So it's exciting time. So we're doing that. My wife is basically selling everything in our house that she can sell on Facebook Marketplace to get rid of everything. I think I may have mentioned this prior or before. We are looking to relocate away from Atlanta, Georgia. We have settled on a place called Henderson, Nevada, which is just outside of Vegas. For those of you who don't know, just outside of Vegas. We still trying to figure out how we came to came to that, but that looks like, I mean, that's what we are looking to do. rather sooner than later. So yeah, so that's going to be we've sort of moving into what we call our sort of semi-retirement. We've been fortunate enough to be able to make some good decisions along with bad decisions, but we've made enough good decisions till we're able to maybe do some semi-retirement type stuff and work on some other things that we really love. And so we're fortunate in that sense. So yeah, so my wife is moving. I mean, she's selling everything that she can that's not nailed down that we can sell right now, and we will actually be out in Nevada in a couple, actually in about 3 weeks. Yeah, in about 3 weeks. Sort of looking around, looking for some place. So those of you who will hear me who are out there in Henderson, Nevada, and you know of a place that we can rent a home, we're going to keep our home here in Atlanta and rent it out. But if those of you out there in Henderson or near Henderson, North Las Vegas, that area, you know someone who has a condo or a house or connections with an apartment place that we can rent, let us know. Let me know. Certainly appreciate that. But yeah, so that's what's going on with us. So we're doing that. I'll be graduating in a couple of weeks, and we'll be moving on, doing some other stuff. And my wife was doing what she called soft life. She's living the soft life right now. We still have our business. It's on pretty much autopilot, um, and so it's pretty much running itself. Some other people assisting. So yeah, so we are good there. So awesome. So what are we talking about today? Again, those of you who are out there, please let me know that you're out there, that you're listening. Send in comments or questions at any time that you would like to. But today's topic is why I would not worship the Abrahamic God, even if he presented evidence that he actually existed. So as I always do, I always kind of tell you guys the background or how I got to this particular topic or where this topic came from. This sort of indirectly came from a debate that I had that I'm const- a debate that I had. I'm constantly debating or dialoguing with a good friend of mine, and she's a good friend. She's a devout Christian believer. We've been at least acquaintances and known each other since for the better part of 30 years since college. But we follow each other on social media, and when I post something on Facebook or Instagram that she considers to be anti-religious or to that effect, she will chime in. And so most recently, um, I think I posted something, and I don't even remember what it was. But to make a long story short, we got into this debate, and the topic, the original topic, was really about can you provide evidence for the existence of your God? And after back and forth, she sort of redirected the conversation to be about you're not accepting. She's talking to me now. You're not accepting my evidence, but one of the reasons why you're not accepting my evidence is because you're saying that it's not objective, so forth and so on. And now she's beginning to tell me that she starts to tell me that everything that you believe or that you practice that you do is made up or is man-made, everything. And so we go back and forth with this, and at the end she admits finally that so she goes into, well, I don't have to present evidence for God. Nature is evidence for God, so forth and so on. And so I'm always countering and asking her and other people that I engage in these dialogues with, present me testable, objective, unbiased evidence that not only God exists, but your God exists. And so clearly she's not able to do that. And she admitted that she's not able to do that. But then she sort of coded that in the sense of, well, I don't have to. God doesn't have to prove anything to you, so forth and so on. And she goes into this thing about everything that you believe is man-made, whatever, whatever. And I said, no, there's some things that are objective, that are objective. And I told her, I said, let me give you an example of something that you can't see, hear, smell, or even feel. Um, but what some people say, like most people would believe that this is real. It's similar to what you and some people will believe is also real. So I said, let's compare gravity to God. I say if 10 people run to the top of a 10-story building and jump off, the effects will be the same 100% of the time. That is evidence of gravity. That is gravity itself. That doesn't change. That's testable. We can do that at any building, any country, any place, anytime, day or night, and the results will be the same. That's proof that gravity exists. And I said, so can you do the same with your God? And she could not. She can't. I said, we can test. How do you test this God? We both can ask for something and say, let's do that something or have that something happen in the next 5 minutes. And 10 of us, and nothing will happen in most cases. So it's not testable, it's not objective, and it's certainly not unbiased. And so that led me. And so finally I said to her, I said, even if you were able to, because she keep asking me what evidence would persuade you, and I always said to her, if your God is who he say he is, then he would know what evidence it would take to persuade me. And so so we go on back and forth, and finally I tell her, I said, well, listen, even if your God was real, you proved it was real, or he did something to prove it was real, based on the character in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, I wouldn't worship that God anyway. And so that's how we got to the topic that we're on today. Why I wouldn't worship the Abrahamic God, even if he were real. And I have a list of about 8 things. Actually, it's a lot more than that. But so these 8 things or these 8 reasons why I would not worship him. I wanted to discuss that and go over that today, and sort of put that out there and have you all respond to that. LMA, appreciate it. Thank you. So what's up, S2S? Same to same. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mo Wheat, what's going on? The crazy part is what she believes is man-made. I absolutely, but here's the thing. I know exactly, and I didn't say that for whatever reason, but and I am going to say it back to her again, and so, but her response, I can almost tell you, her response is going to be no. God existed before man. God inspired man. That's going to be her comeback. I'm almost sure of it. But you're absolutely right. And as a matter of fact, I did tell her that us being humanity, the reason why we have gods is because early on in our existence, our evolution, we could not answer or did not have the answer to normal phenomenons like thunder and lightning and earthquake and water. I mean, rain and that type of thing. And so rather than saying, I don't know, because humanity has a problem with not knowing something, rather than saying I don't know, we decided to blame God or create a God or say that this is a God or a supernatural occurrence, that these things are happening through supernatural reasoning. And as we found out, as I've said 100 times on this podcast, as we discovered the natural reasons for all of these things, those gods all fell by the wayside. And I told her this is called God of the gaps, meaning that we don't know the answer to something. So we fill those gaps with, oh, it must be God or a God that is the responsible party or entity for these things. So yeah, absolutely. So appreciate it, Amanda. Amanda is here. Thank you, Amanda. Good evening. How are you? Let me move back up one. LMA said it is not our job to prove God exists. It is his duty to prove he exists. Along with that, LMA, it is also the individuals who are proclaiming and making a affirmation, a positive affirmation that this God or a God exists. It is their responsibility to present the evidence, especially, and this is what I told her as well, especially if you are proclaiming that this God is everything that you believe that he is, and that we all should be following rules and laws made by this God, and that we all should be living our life by this God, and that we're somehow wrong or headed to hell if we don't. If you're going to do that, then you need to present the evidence, the objective, unbiased, testable, corroborated evidence that this God exists. If not, then your premise and your logic is the same thing as someone saying Tinkerbell exists or Bigfoot exists. Same amount of evidence. Zero, absolutely zero. Good evening, Amanda. Texas God said, Willie, congratulations on the move and graduation. This is an exciting time for you and your wife. Appreciate it. Thank you. For those of you who joined me late, I will go back into that toward the end. This is what's going on with us. Um, Texas Goddess said, good evening to everyone. Where did he move? I'm still here, out of the country. Yeah, no, Amanda, not yet. We haven't made that move yet. But no, I was telling the group earlier that my wife and I were looking to move to Henderson, Nevada, out of Atlanta. We're in Atlanta right now, rather shortly, and so we was talking about that. So it's gonna affect what we do in the future a little bit, but we'll take care of that when it's time. But yeah, but that's gonna happen sooner than later. And I was kind of joking that my wife is selling everything in the house that's not nailed down, and so that's how that came about. But yeah, so not out the country yet. I still got some places that I need to see before I finally decide on. Because at some point I do anticipate living outside the country at some point. Not quite yet, but at some point. TLX, hi. TLX is waving. Papa Lance, what's going on? PC chat with Bro Will. Appreciate it. Thank you. I love Arizona. Are you in Arizona, Amanda? This is yeah, we're moving to Henderson, Nevada, which is right outside of Vegas. But it's right next to Arizona. I love Arizona too, especially Scottsdale. It's beautiful. But yeah, but I digress. Let me get back to this. But we'll talk about it, Amanda. Thank you. And that's how we do on this show. I keep it very informal. So those of you who just tuning in have never tuned in before or the first time, we kind of do it informal. That's how I wanted the show to be. I wanted it to be very informal, so we can create the space and have the space, so we can kind of talk about these things without the pressure. So yeah, so that's where we are. Also, if you never joined before, or this is your first time, and you hear this at a later time, I will. And I always read the comments from people because they're part of this podcast as well. So if that annoys you or bothers you, I apologize for that, but this is how we do it here. Texas Goddess says, Willie, please post your book link, everyone. The book is great. Thank you so much, Texas Goddess. So let's take a quick break. Here's a book. From Save the Saint, My Journey Away from Christianity and Why Christianity Has Been Detrimental to the African American Community. Willie O. Cartwright, EMBA. You can, and I'll be adding MA to that in 2 weeks after I graduate. You can get this on Amazon, and I'll put in the chat later if you want to cash out me. And where's my phone? Cash out me and with your address and $19.99, and we will get you a signed copy sent to you. The copies on Amazon are not signed, but let me know and we can get that done as well. We do keep some copies around here. If my wife had got rid of those with everything else. Um, PC is short for peace. Oh, okay, appreciate it. Thank you, Papa Lance. Absolutely. LMA is watch, stop, and evidence. I want proof from the so-called God and not some lame crap like lights flickering or finding my car keys, something that all humans can witness at one time. Uh, LMA, see, that's just it. That's when people use this as evidence, these type things as evidence, that's not evidence. That's them witnessing an occurrence, even a natural phenomenon, and then assigning God as the responsible party to it. That is not at all evidence. And so I quickly dismiss that when that becomes their evidence of that. Amanda says, no, I'm from North Carolina, but I've been in Minneapolis for 5 years, but would love to live in my favorite U.S. state, Arizona. Cool, good deal. Larry Smith says, hello, everyone. Finally made it to the stream. Appreciate it, Larry. Glad to have you, Larry. Glad that you are here. Amanda said, yes, I have your book. Please purchase it. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. We'll do that again before we leave, talk about the book. But let me get to some of these reasons as to why I would not worship this God, even if he was real. Taisha is here, y'all. Taisha is here. What's going on, Taisha? Glad that you have joined us. Taisha, send me a message later if you want me to still send you the link so you can join us live at some point, or because I just haven't been sending it to you because I know you're busy. But I appreciate that you are here joining us. So we have Taisha here. So let me get to some of these reasons why I wouldn't. So if this God was really real and presented Himself, and I said, okay, you're real, I still would not worship this character based on the characteristics and the things that I've seen of this character in the Bible. First of all, let me begin with this. I don't think that why should I have to worship anybody or anything? So I have a problem with the word worship, period. I don't have to worship. I don't think I should have to worship or anybody or anything. So that's problem number one. If the first, what is it? The first commandment is they should have no other God before me. That to me sounds like it's just, they say, yes, I am here for your reasons. uh, the first commandment, they should have no other God before me. Is that hopefully that's the first commandment? It's been so long since I read the commandments, but yeah, I think so. That should have no other God before me. That sounds to me like a narcissistic, um, ego tripping God. And so that's reason number two that I would never worship this so-called God. I believe in me, I trust me. And as Taisha said, worship yourself. So why would I worship this God or whatever? So well, another reason, and this is a big one to me, and we've had discussions about this one. I might do a whole show on this one, is the fact that this God uh, did not step in, has not stepped in, and did not step in to stop slavery. Not just slavery of us, our ancestors, but slavery that has occurred across the world. I think that it is hideous that a person can own another person. And all of these nuances and complexities and semantics of what people come into these conversations with, well, it was, they were paying off a debt, is servitude, or is, I'm talking about, if you read the Bible, the Old Testament, it talks about flat out slavery. It might not be chattel slavery, but it's a lot more than just, oh, I'm paying off a debt. So this God can give his people laws that says don't eat shrimp or don't wear mixed fabric or so forth and so on, but cannot say don't own another human being. Yeah, Taisha, absolutely. And I got that's part of my list too, the whole rest of it. So yeah, so I have a huge issue with that. And I think it's personal to me, and I think it should be personal to all African Americans because of what our people, our ancestors have endured, and turn around and end up being the most devout demographic of people to this so-called God, which is just asinine to me if you really think about it. If you really think about it, it is asinine that we are as devout as we are while our so-called heavenly Father, who is all powerful, all knowing, sit back with his hands folded and watch our people endure 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, everything. Larry Smith says he's extremely mean in the Old Testament. I think a real God wouldn't even want to be worshipped. Absolutely, I agree, Larry. Next thing, rape. This I ask me why. I mean, why would a God not stop rape? Growing up, I think that probably half of the women that I knew had endured some type of rape or sexual abuse at some point, and half might be conservative. Members of my own family, people really close to me, women I went to school with, women I've known personally, even women I've dated in the past. Um, and yet, in the Bible, all these incidents of rape that God condoned, and even in some cases, God rewarded, his so-called soldiers after battle. He rewarded them with virgins to do as they please. Um, so I just don't this whole thing. So this is your God, all powerful, all knowing, all whatever. But rape is he's good with rape. He is good with rape. And I'm going to say how stuff needs to be said because I know that I'm going to get comments because I always get comments after all these shows. People who listen to it at a later date, or people who may be listening to it right now but are not making a comment because I get immediate comments, and so I am, as they say, I am ready for the smoke because again, this is asinine to me that we don't see this or we ignore this. When I say we, I'm talking about us as a community. First of all, a community of human beings, and then a community of African Americans, that we still worship this God, knowing that this God condones rape in the Bible, throughout the Bible, and even rewards his soldiers in war with virgins. There are scriptures in the Old Testament and maybe in the New Testament, certainly the Old Testament, where these soldiers go out and they win a battle for God, and God tells them to slaughter or kill all the men, all the women that have been with men, but save the virgins for yourself and do as you please. I mean, that's throughout the Bible in a variety of different battles. And so that is crazy to me. Also, murder. Again, you don't have to look far. This God condones and commits murder. And again, we have no problem with that. So why would I worship this God? Um, why would a God kill every firstborn in Egypt as opposed to killing Satan or the Pharaoh? Even with the Pharaoh, even with everything he did to the Pharaoh prior to killing every firstborn, the Pharaoh finally says, "You know what? F this. All right, whatever you want, God will do it." God turns around and hardens his heart. Now tell me how maniacal and psychopathic is this? God hardens the heart of Pharaoh so that now God has an excuse, a reason to kill every firstborn in Egypt. It's just, I mean, when you look at these stories logically from outside, once you get rid of the brainwashing and you see these stories for what they really are. Not only that, God decides that, yeah, I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm gonna burn everybody down, kill everybody in the whole Sodom and Gomorrah story, right? I'm gonna turn the woman who naturally just looks back because she's losing everything that she's ever known, and she turns around and look, and he turns into a pillar of salt. Um, Noah's Ark. I'm just going to kill everybody in the world. I'm going to drown everybody, every animal in the world. This is your God. This is the God that these people are talking about I should worship. The story of Job. I'm going to kill. I'm going to, and y'all know I love this story. But me and my man Satan, we got this bet going on. And so I'm gonna prove this point to my man Satan. Even though I'm God and I know the outcome of everything before it happens, I'm gonna prove this point to Satan. I'm gonna win this bet. So in order to do this, I'm gonna kill everybody in Job's family except him and his wife. I'm gonna kill his kids. I'm gonna kill his dog, his livestock, everything. This is your God. This is the God that you want us to worship. This is the God that we're supposed to worship. This maniacal, evil, um somebody disgusting predator. Thank you, Amanda. This is that. So I just can't. I just can't. Along those same lines, what loving father, because that's who we say he is. That's who Christians say he is. What loving father creates an eternal hell for his kids? Now, follow me on this now. This all-knowing, all-powerful God knows who's going to do what. So he knows that he's going to create human beings that are eventually going to burn in hell forever. So why not either not create those human beings, not create hell, kill Satan, or somehow change the rules so that your so-called creations are not burning in hell. This is a maniacal, evil God that creates people for the sole purpose of burning them for eternity in hell, simply because they don't believe in you. Not because they murdered, steal, rape, kill anybody, because you can do all of that and ask for forgiveness and take God as your savior and not be condemned to hell. But people like me and my wife, who is the best, the absolute best person I've ever met, and many of you who've done none of these things, the only thing that you've done is said, I'm not going to believe in this God until I see enough objective evidence to make me believe in this God. That's all we've done. I've never murdered anybody. I've never killed anybody. I've never raped anybody. I've never done any of this stuff that you think should send someone to hell if hell really existed. But yet, uh, we us as people call me a heathen, us heathen, and I have Christian friends that call me heathen. Absolutely, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Trust me. Um, but us heathens, we're going to burn in hell because we decided to use logic, reasoning, and our analytical thinking ability and say, wait a minute, before I believe in this supernatural entity that no one has ever seen, I need to see evidence for, right? Because we ask for evidence for everything else in our life. So how dare we ask for evidence in order to believe in this God? But it goes further than that. There have been at least 1,000 gods. So how do I even know that first of all a God exists? Secondly, how do I know that this God exists? And thirdly, how do I know that this is the right God that I'm supposed to be serving or worshiping? And through all of that, if I'm wrong, then you've created this place called hell, which I'm going to whisper this, but doesn't exist. But for the Christians out there, we will pretend that it does exist. But your God created this hell to burn me and people like me forever, for eternity, non-ending, forever and ever and ever. I mean, I couldn't even do that. I mean, I'm trying to think about the person who I've hated more than anybody in my life. I know hate is a strong word, but yeah, there have been people that I've hated. There's no one that I hate now because I don't have those people in my life. But growing up, there are probably some people that I hated. And even those people, I could, if I had the ability, I could not put them in hell for eternity. And these are people who have personally wronged me, who've physically or emotionally or mentally hurt me or hurt someone that I love. And so you're God. Nothing that we can do can hurt you. Nothing that we can do can pain you, especially when you know everything is gonna happen. I'm laughing because the more I talk about this, the more asinine this sounds, the crazy, and how crazy this sounds. And it just behooves me that people are not able to see this. And trust me, I spent many years believing a lot of this, but more importantly, being apathetic to this stuff. And maybe that's what's really going on with a lot of people. Maybe they're just not thinking this stuff through because we're so indoctrinated and we're so trained to believe this and have religion and the belief in God and this Abrahamic God as part of our life until we're apathetic to all of the other logical and reasoning things around us, especially when someone points those things out to us. We just sort of ignore it or we just sort of don't think about it or whatever. And so it's really crazy. A couple of comments. Amanda said, disgusting predator. Taisha said, make it make sense. LOL. TLX said, story of Job is a deal breaker. Yeah, it was. Till the first time I heard, and I've heard the story of Job at least 1,000 times, right? Growing up in the church, I remember being a kid, and I think the first couple of times it didn't register, right? But as I got older, I had more questions than anything. Like, but wait a minute, what is wait a minute, a deal, a bet, him and the Saint, and why kill and that. And so yeah, so it became one. It is one of the top 2 or 3 stories that I go back to. This kind of use logic on people to say explain this because everything in that story is completely asinine. Nothing in that story makes sense. Nothing. from God betting with Satan, but this is a God again that knows everything. Um, God killing his kids, God killing his livestock, God inflicted him with whatever diseases he had. I think in the story he some kind of skin disease or whatever. Um, and then him not, I'm not gonna cuss God, even after his wife was like, who wisely say, cuss God and whatever. All of this stuff is just crazy. And then the clincher, which for me is almost as bad as the story itself. The fact that, and I use the word fact really, really lightly. I don't mean fact as in true, but the fact that God so-called replaces everything, the kids and the livestock. And I've often said when I've had these debates with people about this particular story, my loved ones, my sister, who I love dearly, and my nephew and my niece, who I love dearly, and my wife, but in this case, extended family, because I don't have any kids. And I'm sure those of you who have kids, those people are not replaceable. They're not replaceable. I can get another niece or nephew. Well, I can't. My sister is old too old, but let's just say I could. There's no way to replace the relationship and the love that I have for my niece and nephew and my sister. Um, they can't be replaced. They're not furniture or food where I can just go to Walmart or Costco's and replace them. So I can't. My family cannot be replaced. And I've heard people doing mental gymnastics in an attempt to rationalize the story, saying, well, God replaced them with even more. You don't replace loved ones, you don't replace family members. That just shows you the level of ignorance that being religious or following this particular God or gods, what it does to people. It makes them, as someone once said, it makes otherwise rational people highly irrational in their thoughts and their actions. That's what religion does. That's what the belief in God's, any God, in particular the Abrahamic God, that's what it does to people. When I sit back and listen to people trying to rationalize some of this stuff, I'm saying to myself, if we were having a discussion on any other topic, your approach, your thought process to this topic would be completely rational and logical, and you would apply reason. But for whatever reason, you are brain dead when it comes to religion, your faith, and this belief in this God, because you turn off all logic, all rationale, all good reasoning. And that's what most believers do. And it is crazy to me. Um, Amanda said, "At Larry, no, we have to worship him from sun up to sundown." Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read. Let me read. Okay, let's see. Let me go back because I missed a couple of comments. I love when you guys comment, y'all. You know that I love it. TLX's story of Job was a deal breaker. That was the last one I read. Amanda says, "A father who uses our entire lives to manipulate and gaslight us." Absolutely. Absolutely. Larry Smith says, will people have free will in heaven? If so, won't we eventually end up in the same state we're in now? On the other hand, if there's no free will in heaven, what's the point? So Amanda says, Larry, no, I guess no, we won't have free will. We will have to worship him from sun up to sundown. So this is that. Those are two good points. I've heard both sides. I've heard that so let me this brings up another point. So if let's say my mother, who was a devout Christian, even a minister before she passed away, she's in heaven. And when you're in heaven, you're supposed to be happy, right? And there's no doubt in my mind that my mother loved me dearly. But is she would she not be aware that her firstborn, as people always say, her favorite, would not be in heaven? So can she really be happy if a loved one is not in heaven with her and is in hell? So that's one question. The other question is back to what Larry say. Uh, will they have free will? If they do have free will they end up the same way before, they being people? They may have free will, but maybe they will be, maybe all of the bad things and negative things will be unprogrammed from them. So they have free will, but they only have free will to do the good things. If that doesn't even make sense, but I'm trying to make it make sense. But if they don't have free will, then you're right. What's the point? And so if they don't have free will, then it looks like what Amanda is saying makes more sense, which means they're just going to sit there and worship God from sun up to sundown every day for eternity, which sounds extremely freaking boring to me. So either way, it's crazy, and we don't know. And thankfully, fortunately, none of it is real. And so those of you who are listening who are believers or whatever. Yes, I said it. None of it is real, but I'm doing this to try to help you all out there. Taisha said you can't replace my family. Absolutely, you can't replace my family. Let's see. Amanda said that sounds like the most boring existence ever. One way ticket to hell, please. See all the fun, all of the good. I think we're gonna do a podcast one day on all of the fun we're gonna have in hell and all of the fun people that are gonna be in hell with us, quote unquote. But yeah, so yeah, send me straight to hell with all the fun people. That's gonna be absolutely crazy. Let me pronounce this right. T Zaffarelia 700 travel more. Because I don't want to butcher your name and be disrespectful, I'm going to say 700 travel more until I figure out how to pronounce it. And I apologize. I certainly apologize. But she says, absolutely. Till X says, robots in heaven. That's exactly robots in heaven. That is exactly what it seems to me that is going to happen. And so, again, that goes back to this whole narcissistic God. Is he, why didn't he just create a bunch of rocks or trees and do nothing but worship him? So this is the height of narcissism, to want people to just worship you every day, all day long for eternity. What I just this is the more and more I think about this too. The friend who I mentioned earlier that we've had this dialogue that started this is the reason why this is the subject today. She keeps telling me that I'm going to come back to God and that God wants me to speak for Him and be a preacher. And I keep trying to tell her the more and more, the further away I am from this stuff, the more and more and more I am 100% sure that I made the right decision. It is going on. It has been 9 years since I left religion, and since I denounced Christianity, and since I stopped being a believer. And so I'm not. I'm getting further and further away. It's not. There's nothing. I'm never coming back. I am not. And I know you're supposed to never say never, unless God Himself come down and make some kind of mob offer, a deal that I can't refuse. I don't see myself ever going back. So yeah, um, 700 Travel More said everyone knows the party is in the basement. Absolutely, it is in the basement. Thank you for that grace, 700 more. Larry says hell is going to be lit. All the cool people will be there. You're right. All the cool people, everybody with a personality, all the people, we'll all be there having a good time. A couple of other reasons why I would never worship this God, even if he were real. The fact that he won't show himself. The fact that we've been asking and asking over for 2,000 years or however long we've been in existence and knowing about this Abrahamic God, people have been asking for him to show himself. And show himself in a way that does not need subjective interpretation. Don't show yourself on a piece of toast that was burnt in a certain way. People say, "Oh, this is the image of God, so that must be." Don't show yourself on a cloud, some clouds that may or may not resemble what you look like. Show us to the point where there is no doubt for us, and people have been asking and asking and asking for that. So for that reason, I won't. Another reason, the fact that he created Satan and that he won't kill Satan. As opposed to say if Satan is causing a lot of this bad stuff that's happening, why not kill Satan? And the reason why this God won't kill Satan is the same reason why the coyote never catches the road runner because the show would be over. And so this God and this religion and this faith has continued the show. So, the devil has to exist, continue to exist to play off of God, right? If the coyote ever caught the road runner, those of you old enough to remember Wile E. Coyote and the Road Runner cartoon, the coyote continued to chase the roadrunner and never caught him. Never, ever, ever. And if he did, then that would be the end of the show. Because that was the show. That was the basis of the show. Same thing with this religion and this whole God, and same thing. The basis of it is I'm God, he's Satan. I'm good for you, he's bad for you. When in actuality is completely the opposite. If there are historians who have done studies on the Bible and things that happen in the Bible, and God is responsible for I think it's over 2 million kills or 2 million murders in the Bible, where Satan is responsible for less than 10. And these are historians who've studied this type of stuff. So who's really the bad guy? Who's really the good guy, right? Um, Another reason why I would never trust this God, because I've seen so many people, so many devout Christians, so many believers, including family members, my mother and other family members, who have trusted and believed in this God and have literally begged and pleaded with this God to deliver them from, you know, uh, sickness and illness and addictions and relationships, and this God hasn't moved a finger. And these people have endured these atrocious illnesses and bad situations. And I know that these people, they have free will, quote unquote, where they can leave these situations, stop these things. But if it's an illness, they have no control over that. And those people out there who have ever been in a situation where they're being abused, it is not as easy as people make it out to be for those people to leave these abusive situations. But even to that point, why is this God who's supposed to be your father, your protector, allowing you to be in this situation to begin with? Why is this God not protecting you before this happens? It's like, so, when people are involved in car accidents or a tragic death or whatever, now people are praying. Like, who the hell are you praying to? The same God you're praying to give you comfort should have been the same fucking God and oh my God, sorry about it, but should have been the same God that stopped this from happening to begin with. So you're wasting your time praying to this God to give you comfort when the same. It's just like it's like me walking in the house and seeing a man attacking my wife, and I sit there and wait until the attack is over, and then she comes to me and I put my arms around her and comfort her. She's gonna look at me like, "Why the fuck did you stop it? You was there. You had the ability to stop it, And so that's what this is. We have we have an abusive relationship with this God, especially African Americans, because we rely so heavily on this God. And so it burns me up. And I guess you guys can feel some of the anger when I thought about this stuff, because that stuff is personal to me in some cases, because I've watched family members and I've just kind of like shaking my head. And one of the reasons why I'm not part of organized religion and belief in this God anymore is because of the things that I've seen firsthand from family members, from my mother, and things like that. And so, yeah, absolutely. Let me go to some comments before I start cussing again. This is an adult show, though. It's podcast, so I think I'm all right with that. Um, Larry Smith says, "Where did I stop at? Oh, it's going to be lit." And then Amanda says, "At Larry, right?" Taisha says, "Larry Smith, that's right. Send me to hell." 700 Travel More said, "They're one of the same. There are one in the same. Absolutely. Even God said He created good and evil. Absolutely, absolutely." Amanda says, "If there's no college football and marching bands in heaven, miss me with it. Waking up to the King's Highway." We're gonna be listening to boring. They are going to be listening to boring gospel songs day in and day out. That's so good luck to them. And I love football too, so I'll miss football. Y'all know I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, so If I can't watch Cowboys, then I'm not gonna be there. To be honest, Larry said, to be honest, if I had to pick a mythology, I want to go to Valhalla, hang out with Thor and the Valkyrie. What is it? How's it pronounced it? Valkyrie. So Thor, who I think was the god of thunder, if I'm not mistaken, is an example of us as human beings creating these gods. At one point in our evolution, humanity's evolution, the majority of the people in the given area believed that Thor was real, right? Because we couldn't explain thunder or whatever we created Thor to represent or be the answer to. So absolutely, Larry. TLX is laughing. Taisha said, "Priest brother got Willie cussing." Yeah, yeah. I've been trying to keep it in, Taisha, but every now and then it slips out. Amanda said, "Useless." He's absolutely useless. TLX said, "Keep it real, Willie. I appreciate it. Thank you." Taisha said, "It's Christian sanity. It is. It is. It is." And once you again, I'm not trying to be 100%. I mean, all critical of Christians because again, I always remember that I was there, but I don't believe that I was ever this gullible. Here's the one thing that I never did. I never had these kind of debates and dialogue with non-believers. I didn't know many, but I would never do that because I always knew that this was basically a belief system and that this was based on belief and this was based on faith. And even at a young age, I understood the difference between faith and objective evidence for something. And so I would never been for one to go out on a limb and argue with somebody. Yeah, this is absolutely the truth, and this is the only truth, so forth and so on. Never been one for that. So yeah, uh, I better say, Willie, you really are preaching. Though. Thank you. Larry says sometimes it seems like Satan is the smarter of the two. Satan is the smarter of the two. So he survived. He has his own place. He got his own people. He's having a good time. He's doing whatever he wants to do. And God is jealous of him. You know, Satan is not trying to recruit. He's not. He don't have his people standing on the corner, Jehovah Witnesses, 7 Day Adventists, whatever, standing on the corner recruiting. He's not having his people wearing dressed in all purple and arguing and yelling at people on the corner. If you're in any urban city, um, Hebrew Israelites, he's not doing any of those. He's just being himself, and it is what it is. I'm going to say yes, Ty. I love that. Um, Let's see. Sometimes it seems, yeah. Okay. So Taisha says, Amanda, it really is. It really, like I said, it really is. It really is. Yeah. Amanda said, I don't want to. I don't want to hear Dorothy Norwood telling stories about Nessie's husband. All right. Texas God said, Willie, most of us have prayed, cried, been prostrate before the cross, naked before the throne, begging God for reasonable things like healing someone, yet they died. Absolutely. A hundred, I mean, stuff that's not, let's take the greed stuff out, like $1 million, even a promotion at the job. We've asked for we've had my mother has spent most of my adult life and well, most of my life period sick. And as many times I prayed for her to be well, to be better. I literally as a kid, my sister and many days we prayed for our power to be on, for us to have running, water, for us to have, lights, for us to have heat in our house. And it didn't, it eventually, but it was, in one particular case, we spent probably a year and a half without heat in our house. We prayed for, our stepfather not to be abusive. All kinds of stuff. Not selfish things, but just normal things, just to live a normal life. And this God said, nah, nah, nah. He never came through. So yeah, absolutely. Um, and before those of you out there, because I get this sometime, we got about 6 minutes. I get this sometime. I want to just cut this off because my friend who I had been speaking with prior, who again is the reason for this conversation. One of the things that she brought up and said, and I forgot, was that she said that I was angry with God. And so, those of you who are listening, who are believers, and this is going to be one of your comebacks is that I'm angry with God. I'm not angry with anybody. My life is beautiful. And secondly, how can I be angry with something that doesn't exist? So I'm not angry at all with God. When I first denounced Christianity and and left organized religion and stopped believing, I was angry with people for a period of time. I was angry with the adults who told me these things. I was angry with the adults who didn't allow me to ask questions. I was angry with the adults who could not answer my questions or refused to answer my questions. I was angry with a system um, that has allowed this religion thing, Christianity, in the case of this country, to take over and rules and norms be created based on someone's belief. But I was never and have never been mad at a God. That's like me being mad at Superman or me being mad at Tinkerbell or Bigfoot. I cannot be mad at something that I don't believe exists. So no, so so I'm not mad at God. Um, did I have I asked for things in the past and they didn't come through? Absolutely, but I dealt with those things the same way I used to deal with reality when I would ask my mother for stuff and she would, I either dealt with it or figured out a way to get it on my own. And so early on, very quickly, I realized that even still as a believer at the time, I realized that this God was not going to answer basic prayer requests. And I knew that and I started to equate the answer of prayer to baseball. Any of you who follow baseball know anything about baseball? If a player plays 10, 15, 20 years and his batting average is 300, that's 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10 times he gets up to the plate, he gets a hit. That person is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. And so when that person is inducted into the Hall of Fame, all they talk about are the 300 hits. I mean, the 300 average this person has and all of the hits that the person has. But they never talk about the 7 times out of 10 that he didn't get a hit. And so that's what prayer is like with Christians. You pray, you pray, you pray, and 7 times, 7 out of 10 times, nothing happens. This God doesn't answer your prayer. The other 3 times, you either work to get what you're looking for, or or by coincidence, you end up getting what you prayed for, and then you attribute that to God and say that God is answering my prayer. But you forget about the other 7 times that you prayed, and this God hung the phone up and said, "I can't hear you." You know what I'm saying? So that's why I equate that. So I learned that early on. So this God and the whole prayer thing is much like baseball. It is the only thing, it is the only two things in the world that you can literally fail at and be considered a success. 3 out of 10 in any other situation is failing. It is doing a horrible job. You need to be, if it's a job that you have and you're 3 out of 10 in the results of what's supposed to be done, you will be fired. Um, so it doesn't work. But when it comes to baseball and prayer, people seem to forget about the 70% of the time that they are unsuccessful or that they fail, and they also meaning God. You said I'm a Cowboy fan too, but yeah. So where did we stop at? We said, oh, Larry said Hebrew Israelites. Oh yeah, yeah. I've had debates with the Hebrew Israelites as well. Um, Larry said Hebrew Israelites. Power Rangers yeah, they do look like Power Rangers. Yeah, and they are very aggressive. And we've had our debates on the street corners too. So yeah, absolutely. 700 Travel More said, excellent point. Appreciate it. Thank you. Amanda said the church says the devil can only do what had allows him to, I guess what God allows him to do. So wouldn't that make Satan powerless? God submits the order, Satan carries it out. So even Satan is being used and abused by God. Yeah, but Satan is good with it because at the end of the day, Satan is like Trump, right? Um, Trump is really being used by the powers to be, the powers above him. But at the end of the day, Trump is getting everything out of it that he wants out of it too. So, but then it end up being one and the same. So God and the devil, God and Satan is one and the same. And I'm not I'm not. This is not a political statement because I could care less about Biden as well. I'm just not. I'm in between. I can care less about either from that standpoint. So I don't want anybody get on here and say, "Oh, he's liberal," or I could care less about any of it. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of Biden either, so it doesn't matter to me. But that's a whole different conversation. So yeah, but they're one and the same. God is saying is one and the same. Let's see. 700 Travel More says, spot on, Amanda. So it is about, are there any more comments? It is 7 o'clock, man. Time flies when we are having fun. But I certainly appreciate all of you for being here. I think I'm going to start keeping some of the comments that I get after this and maybe read some of them on the following show. So you guys can hear some of the comments that I get. And I respond to each and every last one of them because I have the time to do that and I enjoy doing that. So I certainly appreciate it. But I appreciate all of you. Amanda, thank you so much. Travel More, thank you so much. Papa Lance, Larry Smith, thank you for coming on, finally making it. I appreciate it. Taisha, always absolutely a pleasure to have you on. Certainly appreciate you. Amanda, let's see who else. TLX, thank you for being, as always, very consistent. I think I said Larry Smith before, Larry, but thank you. I'll try to make sure I didn't forget anybody. And all of you else, the rest of you who are out there listening and didn't make a comment. LMA, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate your comments and your contributions to the show. Texas Goddess, as always, thank you so much. Certainly appreciate you as well. And everyone else that's out there that I may have missed, I apologize for that. And those of you who will hear this at a later date, thank you so much for joining. Pick up the book on Amazon from Save the Same, My Journey Away from Christianity and Why Christianity Has Been Detrimental to the African American Community. Willie O. Cartwright, you can get the book here. Again, you said before, and I'll say this again, I kind of ran out of time, but absolutely we will. I'm looking to do more speaking on the topic, paid speaking. So if you know any organizations or any group that want to have a paid speaker to come in to talk about this kind of stuff, then absolutely send them my way. And so we will talk the next time. We have to talk about what we're doing for the summer. As I mentioned to early on, my wife and I will be moving out of the state. And so we kind of do some time arrangements and some other things. And I used to take a sort of break during the summer months. I won't take the entire summer off, but I might take a few weeks off or whatever. But anyway, thank you all so much. Love this. And I will certainly see you in 2 weeks and we will talk then.